I'll make a new project for today, which is day 2. Fine. So hold on. Please add me on Skype already says. Uh, okay, my Skype ID is QTP Selenium 1. My old Skype ID was just QTP Selenium. My new Skype ID is QTP Selenium 1. Please add me on this ID. Okay. Right. Now, day 2. This earlier one was day 1, and in this we had created simple files, and I had told you how can you configure Selenium in your project. You have to download the jar files, and then you have to go to the properties of the project, and you have to add the external jars from there. Right. So now, in day 2, I'll talk about the concepts of object-oriented programming. Fine. So in object-oriented programming, it is very important to learn this concept because the structure of Selenium is completely object-oriented, right? So to start with the concept of object-oriented programming, you need to understand what objects are. Fine. And to make you understand that, let me create a new class over here, right? And I will name that class as city. Okay. So I've created a blank class, public class city. There is no main function in it as well, right? So this is the city class. It's got nothing in it. Now you can describe the properties in the class. You can have some properties in every class. For example, what is the property of city class? Say string name, the name of the city. Okay, hold on. All right. Now, what is the other property of the city? Say in population, right? So these are the two basic, very basic properties of the class city, right? Now, I'm going to create the object of this class. So what do you mean by object? What do you achieve by creating objects? So that's all I'm going to explain you today. So if you create a new class and call it, say, test. Don't confuse this with a test case or something. I've just created a class known as test.java, right? So out here, I will create the object of the city class. I'll write new city. So this is how you create the object. If I write it 3 times, then 3 objects of the city class will be created. Now technically, fine. This is the way you create the object. You write new and then you write the class name. But what happens in the memory when you write this? Okay, what do you achieve from this? Look, in the memory, what happens is that, like many times people write this and they don't know what is happening behind the scene, and that's quite important to know. You have 3 objects which get created, and each object will have a copy of the property. That is, city class was having 2 properties, right? Name and population. So each of these 3 objects will have these properties. Name and population. Okay, right? Now, the only problem is that you cannot access these objects directly, they are just hanging in the memory. To access these objects, you need a handle, or you can say a pointer kind of stuff, or technically we call it a reference, right? You need an object reference which can access the object. To access the object and to manipulate the properties of the object, each and every object, you can create a reference. You can create a reference like this. City C1 equals to new city. City C2 equals to new city. City C3 equals to new city. Fine. So what happens in the memory is that C1 becomes a reference which points towards this object. C2 becomes a reference which points towards this object, and C3 points towards this object. Okay, and with C1, C2, you can manipulate the state of objects. Please understand, C1, C2 and C3 are known as object references. These are not objects. Okay, if you look at the code, then by looking at the code, people say that fine, C1 object, C2 object, C3 object. But technically, C1, C2, C3 are not objects. They are references. I'll tell you why. What is the importance? Hold on. With C1, C2, C3, you can manipulate the state of the object. You can write, say, C1 dot name. The city one name is, say, London. C1 dot population is, I'll give the some number integer, right? Similarly, I can manipulate C2 dot name is, say, Moscow. C2 dot population is, right? And hold on. Similarly, C3 dot name is Delhi, and C3 dot population is, right? Okay. So what I have done, I have initiated each and every of this object of these objects out here. So the object one name becomes, this is London. So this becomes Moscow, and right. So with the object references, you can manipulate the objects. If I write over here now C1 dot name, so when you write C1 dot, you will get the options over here automatically. Okay, you can select that option whatever you want, name or population. So if I just print the names of C1, C2 and C3, it will print London, Moscow and Delhi. Just try to understand, the variable name is same. In city class we just have got one variable name, right? But by creating different objects of this class, you can have a different name for every object. Okay, name property is single, right? But every object can have a different name. Okay, right? So when you run this program, you will have London Moscow and Delhi written over here. Okay, fine. Now, what if in the next line I write C2 equals to C3? Now here what happens in the memory is that C2 will not point towards this object now. It will start pointing towards the same object to which C3 is pointing. Okay, you can change the object references. Object will remain same. The Moscow object is still there in the memory, but you cannot access it. You have removed the reference C2 and you have placed it where C3 is pointing. Okay, so C2 and C3 both references now can change the state of this object. Okay, and when you write the same thing over here now, hold on, right, separated by this line. If I run this now, you see the output. First it was printing London, Delhi, Moscow. Now it's printing London, Delhi, Delhi. Because C2 and C3 are pointing towards the same Delhi object. Okay, I hope you are getting my point. Fine, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Right, now if any one of them changes the state of the object, if I write over here that C2 dot name is some different city, for example, I put the city name as Washington and I again print this. So if I keep the C2 dot name as Washington, fine. So in the memory, C2 will change the name from Delhi to Washington. Hold on. So this Delhi will no longer remain there in the memory, right? So the new city will come up with the name Washington, right? So C3 dot name and C2 dot name will both be Washington now. C3 will get the updated value. So when you run this, just 1 minute. It's a little hang. Just 1 minute. So what's happening? PC has hanged. Hold on, guys. Yeah, are you able to hear me? My PC was hanged. Alright. So I hope you're able to hear me. So now when you run this, you get the output in the third one. Both C2 and C3 print the same city name. Okay. Right. I hope you understood the point. Okay. Any questions from this? Anything? Any questions? Or it went off? I hope you understood this, right? So this is how you create objects. Okay, I created 3 objects of the city class. I initiated them. Then I moved the references from one object to another, and I showed you the difference. So this is object reference and object. Object is different and object reference is different. If I write like this, that is city C4 equals to null, right? This means that C4 is not pointing towards any object. It's nothing basically. Null means it's nothing. It's completely void, right? It is not pointing towards any object. In the next line, I can 4 equals to new city. So C4 will start pointing towards a new object. Okay, fine. So the same concept applies in Selenium, right? Same concept applies in Selenium. In Selenium, uh, you don't have to make your own classes and then make the objects of your classes. Everything is inbuilt. Okay, everything is inbuilt. For example, if you look at the documentation of Selenium, if you open the website seleniumhq.org, go to the download section, and in the download section, click on Java doc. Okay, click on Java doc, and this is the Java documentation, right? And if you look, then these are all the classes in Selenium. Look, it's vast, it's huge. Okay, there are many classes. Nobody remembers how many classes are there, and nobody remembers the functionality for each and every class. But with time, you come to know what the major classes, and you should actually, what you can say, you should actually uh, have the knack. Okay, you should actually have the knack to understand how to find the class which you want to know about. For example, in this class, in this documentation, there is a class known as, most of you might have studied about it, Firefox driver. Okay, there is a class known as Firefox driver. You click on this, and the class will come up. Right, the complete description about the class will come up, the Firefox driver class. Now this Firefox driver class is used to work with Firefox. Okay, if you have a Firefox browser, then this Firefox driver class can be used to work with the Firefox browser to test the application on Firefox browser. Now when we work with Selenium, all you need to do is that you need to create the object of this class. Okay, so what you need to do is, hold on. First of all, you need to include the Selenium jar files in the project. You can go to the project properties, Java build path, add external libraries, add the Selenium jar file, and you can add all these jars in the project. Okay. Now, if I create a new class out here, if I create a class sample Selenium, I'm sorry for the background noise. Just 1 minute, guys. Yeah, okay. So, right. Now over here, if I just create the object of Firefox driver, I write over here new Firefox driver. That's it. Okay. I'm creating the object of the internal class Firefox driver. Where is this class? This class is somewhere in the jar file of Selenium, right? Over here, I had created the object of city class which I had myself created. But in Selenium, you don't need to create classes and all to create their objects. Everything is inbuilt. You need to know. So this is the Firefox driver class. It's giving you an error. You have to import it from the jar file. You move your mouse over the error and you'll see the option to import Firefox driver. Okay. You select import driver and the Firefox driver class will be imported. And when you run this program, you see that a blank Firefox has opened up. Thus, by creating the object of Firefox driver, you will see that a blank Firefox window opens up. Okay. If you give a reference, with the reference you can say F1 equals to this. I can manage the Firefox browser. Whatever operation you have to perform on it, you can perform. So if I write F1 dot, I will have access to all the functions and variables of the Firefox driver class. For example, instead a function, for example, public void print, right? And so when you call it from test.java, you can call it from here. You can call the function. The function also becomes a part of each and every object. You can write c1 dot name, sorry, c1 dot print, c2 dot print. You can call the function with each and every object, right? Similarly, in Selenium, when I write f1 dot, you get a lot of functions. For example, f1 dot get to the URL http yahoo.com. So this will navigate to yahoo.com Firefox browser. Get function is responsible for navigating the browser to a certain website. And also, writing the protocol is very important. Many times people just write yahoo.com and leave it. This will give you an error. Okay, mentioning the protocol along with the website name is mandatory in Selenium, right? So, for example, if I run this now, this will open up Firefox. You see that, and it will navigate it to yahoo.com. It will not navigate my Firefox to yahoo.com. It will give me an error. The thing is, you should actually not use the latest version of Firefox, which I am using. Unfortunately, my Firefox got updated to the latest version, right? You should use a one version, like if the latest version is 26, 27 this time. Try to use 24 or something that will be supported. Okay, so prefer not to use the latest version of Firefox and turn off the automatic updates in Firefox, right? So you have got classes. You can create the object of those classes and use those objects. If I write a function f1 dot close, as the name suggests, that this function will close the browser. Okay, so understand the basic. The basic is that you are creating the object of an internal class, right? What objects are? I clearly told you that you can have a class like city having various properties, and then by creating the object of the city class you can access those properties, right? So just asking anybody with any questions, anybody having any questions? Okay, okay, fine. 2 minutes, 2 minutes. I'll come over to static. Just hold on. Anybody with any questions, right? Okay. Now, now coming over to the cities class, back to city class. Now, in a class, there are two types of variables and functions. For example, this variable over here is technically known as non-static. This variable is also non-static. This function is also non-static function. Now, what is static? When you write the main function, you use the keyword static. Now, what is this? Okay. For example, I create a variable, say static. Hold on, let me think. Uh, Fine. Uh, Static string type equals to metropolitan. Right. Now, static, if you make a variable static, if I don't make a variable static, fine, it's non-static, right? But if I make it static, okay, what happens is that it no longer remains the part of, right? Static is something which is common for all the objects. All the cities which we are creating are metropolitan cities, okay, right? Or they are, say, capitals. All the cities which we are going to create will be capitals of the countries, right? So in the diagram which I had made, city will reside somewhere over here. The type variable will reside somewhere over here, and it will be common to each and every object. It will no longer be the part of the object, okay? And I can access this variable directly. In test.java, I can access this variable directly. I can write system.out.println city.type. I can access the static variables in Java directly with class name dot the variable name. To access the non-static variables, you have to create the objects of the class and then access the non-static variables like name and population, right? Because these are the part of the objects. It cannot be accessed without creating the objects. But the static variables, they can be directly accessed by writing the name of the class and then putting up a dot and the variable name, like I did it over here, city dot. I cannot write over here city dot name. I'll get an error. Okay, I get an error that you cannot access it. So you have to access static variables, you have to you can access them by writing the name of the class dot the variable name, but the non-static variable has to be accessed with the name of the object dot the variable name. Okay, coming over to Selenium, in Firefox driver, all these functions get and close and all of them are non-static functions. But if I write over here directly the Firefox driver dot, you will get a lot of properties. These are static properties, right? We look over them, but right now try to understand the fact that there are two types of properties. One are static, one is non-static. Static can be directly accessed with the class name, and non-static you have to create the object. Okay. Now similar to Firefox driver, there are other drivers as well. I'll just go to the documentation and I'll tell you. Each and every driver has a class. You have to create the object of that class to work with that driver. Hold on. For example, here are the drivers. For Android, you have got Android driver. This can be used to test your websites on Android. Then you have got Chrome driver for Chrome. Then you have got event firing WebDriver. This can help you to simulate complex user gestures like moving the mouse and all. You have Firefox driver, HTML unit driver. I'll talk about them. Just be with me. Internet Explorer driver, iPhone driver, right? Then you have got remote web driver. Remote web driver is used in GRID. Okay, you have got Safari driver for Safari. So for each and every browser, right, or mobile, there is a particular driver. Fine. Let's look at Chrome driver. As the name suggests, Chrome driver can run your program on Chrome. So if I write over here Chrome driver C1 equals to new Chrome driver, right? And if I run this program, then most of you will get this error, illegal state exception. Look, I created the object of Firefox driver, it worked. But I'm creating the object of Chrome driver, it is not working. It is throwing illegal state exception. Look, this is an illegal state exception. You don't have to worry what it means, why it is coming. Just have to copy the first line of the error. This is the first line of the error, right? You copy this, paste it on Google, search it, you'll get the solution. I also learned it like that. Fine. Don't get confused with the errors. Right. Now when I created the object of Chrome driver, I got this error. The solution for this error is that, for Chrome driver, you have an exe file which you need to download. Hold on. If you go to the Selenium website, you get this link under the download section. Third-party browsers not developed by Selenium HQ. Okay. Third-party browsers not developed by Selenium HQ. Look, there is a browser Chrome over here, right? Now what you need to do is that you need to click over here. Hold on, this is a standard procedure, and go to the download section in code.google.com. Downloads have been moved to this link. Okay, you go over here, right? So these are the various versions. Go into the latest one, 2.8, and download the Chrome driver.zip for your respective operating system. Okay. For Windows, this is the one. I downloaded the zip file, extracted it. Hold on. This is the exe file which you get, Chrome driver.exe. When you extract the zip file, don't have to run this exe file, just copy the path of this exe file, and all you have to write is that you have to write the command system dot set property, hold on, WebDriver dot Chrome dot driver, and in the value you have to give the path of Chrome driver exe, that is D drive Ashish Chrome driver dot exe. Right, in Java you have to give double slash. Basically you have to set WebDriver.Chrome.driver to the path of Chrome driver exe which you have downloaded from the server, so from the Selenium website. Okay. Now what is system.set property? System is an internal class. Like I told you yesterday, date is an internal class. Set property is a static function inside that class. That's why I can call it directly system dot set property. Okay. Don't think that it's a command or something. It's not. System is an internal class. It's got all these static things inside it. Right. So everything inside system class is actually static. Right. So I've used one of the functions set property, and this property I have set. Okay. You initialize the Chrome driver after that, and now when I run this, you will see a blank Chrome opening up. You see that Chrome opens, right? If I write over here c1 dot get to the URL http yahoo.com, this will go to yahoo.com. So when you run this, Chrome will open up and it will navigate to yahoo.com. You see that, right? Okay. Now similarly for I, there is Internet Explorer driver. Fine. You have to, if you just write INTER and hit control space bar in keyboard, control space bar, it will give you all the class names which are starting from INTER. So you can write internet and you will see Internet Explorer driver coming up over here. You can select it. I'm telling you because you don't have to write the complete word again and again, and you can prevent spelling mistakes this way. Okay. So Internet Explorer driver D1 equals to new INTER, control space bar, you'll get this. Okay, fine. Now for Internet Explorer driver as well, you need to download an exe file from seleniumhq.org. Okay, if you go to the download section in seleniumhq.org, you will see that there is something known as Internet Explorer driver server, right? Based on your Windows, whether it is 32-bit or 64-bit, you have to download the exe file, right? I have it with me over here, idriverserver.exe. Fine, don't run this exe, just copy it, and again you have to set it in the system path. You have to write the same command, system dot set property WebDriver dot I dot driver, and the value to be set is this, the path of iDriver server.exe, drive Ashish iDriver server. Okay, right. So for I you have to set this, and these days everybody uses I9, I10. In that you have to do a setting about protected mode. Okay, in I you have to be little careful. You have to do various settings. I list them one by one. First of all, you have to include the exe, which I have included right now. Okay. Second is that make sure that the zoom level in I is at 100%. At times people have a different zoom level based on their convenience. They change the zoom level in I, and if it is not 100%, then what happens is that Selenium throws an error. Okay. Third thing is that protected mode settings. Right, in I, hold on, I'll show it with you with the diagram. I have got I7. Hold on, in I8 or I9 you have got protected mode. Hold on. Yeah, in I you have got, if you go to the Internet Explorer options, right, under security, you have got these 4 zones: internet, local internet, trusted sites, and restricted sites. Are you guys able to hear me? Okay, fine, 3 minutes. Yeah. So these are the 4 zones. Okay. Now for all these 4 zones, right, make sure that this leveler is at the same level. Okay. Otherwise Selenium will not work. This leveler should be at the same level for all the 4 zones. Otherwise it will not work. I hope you got my point, right? So once you do that, these 3 are the settings. First of all, you have to include the exe file. Zoom level should be at 100%. Protected mode settings should be there for all the 4 levels, for all 4 zones. And when you run this, you see like I have executed it and I've seen Internet Explorer opening up. Right. So.
What is zoom level? Hey, whoa.
Pardon?
What is zoom level?
In I you have got zoom levels, right? You can zoom the view to 100%, 75, 125. Okay, zoom in, zoom out. So make sure that it's at 100%. Okay. Apart from these, there are other drivers as well. I'll talk about them, but these are the primary ones which most of the times you work with. When you are starting with Selenium, obviously you will be working with these. Okay. Now, since there is a different driver class for every driver, Firefox driver, for every browser there's a different driver class: Safari driver, I driver, then Chrome driver. If I have to interact with the web page, if I have to click on a link in a web page, will the command be different for every driver? Will I have to learn the intrinsic features of every driver, and that will make my work tough if every driver class is different. Obviously, logic says that the contents of the classes will also be different, and you have to learn each and every driver separately. Okay. Well, that's not the case. The answer to this question lies in the concept of interfaces in Java. So the next concept which I'll be covering up is the concept of interfaces in Java, and then I'll come over to Selenium again and I'll tell you how you can understand these driver classes, how they are related, what are the commands in them. right? How do you interact with the web pages? Okay. For time being, I'll stop here for today because I don't have enough time to cover that now. Okay.